My head's not on fire, and I'm not going to take off my shirt.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Stage Door Chronicles.
Hey, man.
We are your local cable access gone internet. Of course, we are sponsored by the Riff Rag.
That's right, the Riff Rag, covering the local music scene in Southern Colorado and beyond.
That's right. This week we got a great episode for you.
Episode the Ocho.
The Ocho. That's right. We're on episode 8. We got to sit down with Mr. Andy Clifton.
Yeah.
We talked to him for a while. He's an old good friend of mine. Been in the music scene for a long time. We sat down for a little while, talked. He told us all about his career, what he's done, what he's going to do, what he's doing now.
What he's been doing through the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, normal stage door conversations.
That's right. So definitely stick around to the end of the video. We'll have a video of his that we'll put up. Plus, we'll have the lightning round. Make sure you stick around and check it all out. And also, make sure you hit that like, follow, and share. We really do appreciate it. 2 thumbs up, please. We appreciate all you guys, all your support. And without further ado, let's check out some Andy Clifton. Thanks, guys.
Episode Ocho. Peace.
How you doing, Andy?
Well, pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, it's I'm working on a project right now with Grass It Up. Do you ever remember those guys?
I think I've heard of it.
They're like a bluegrass phenomenal bluegrass band here.
They've been around for a while.
Yeah, and they're all School of Music guys, educated, play bluegrass, all different ages. They got all the connects with like the School of Arts, like the Bemis School of Arts and the anyways, they got this job doing this Australian rock music for this private guy. He's an Australian dude. He loves bluegrass and he loves Cold Chisel, which is like the Australian Led Zeppelin.
Uh-huh.
It's like an AC/DC band that does love songs.
So they're doing bluegrass covers of their songs or for him?
Yeah, they're covering Cold Chisel, which is this really popular Australian, wow kind of AC/DC kind of stuff, but it's like ballads.
Nice.
Folk songs, but done like, way up at the top of the register, and they can't sing it.
Oh.
So they hired me, and I'm like, well, I can't sing it either. Basically like Brian Johnson or Axl Rose kind of singing through the top of my nose.
Right.
So it's hard, man. Some of this stuff is really challenging. Yet when he goes up to the high notes, I'm struggling. But
you need a piece of paracord this long, and then you know how to make a slip knot, right? And you just and then cinch them, bro. Cinch them real tight.
Do it great.
Just don't forget to release afterwards.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, the last plane out of Sydney's almost gone. The last plane out of Sydney's almost gone. And it's really got me worried. I'm going nowhere and I'm in a hurry. The last plane out of Sydney's almost gone.
So any of you that don't know, we have with us Mr. Andy Clifton here. Andy's a dear old friend of mine. We used to be in a band together back in the mid-'90s called Terrible Jack Dormouse.
That's right.
Andy's...
God, I haven't heard that name in so long, man.
Otherwise, Terrible Jack Dormhouse. What else did they? I mean, they came up with all kinds of crazy names that the local papers could never get it right.
Right. He's been a continuing musician since what year did you start? In the Springs, anyway?
Yeah, I got to Colorado Springs in 1993. I was a soldier at Fort Carson.
You got out in 93, so did I.
And immediately started playing like the underground coffee shops. There was a lot of places that didn't have music. And so I was this kid with homemade business cards and the guitar that my parents bought me in high school. And I was walking up and down the street asking for 5 minutes of their time, you know, to gig.
Buskin.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'd go in and ask to talk to the manager, and they'd give you dirty looks, and you'd get the manager, and you'd say, "Can I have 5 minutes of your time?" And he's like, "Clock's ticking." And you'd say, "Well, first of all, I'm a soldier, and but I'm here. I'm looking to if you have acoustic music. Do you ever have music in your restaurant? You know?" And back then, there really didn't. Like there was the Underground, and the Ritz
Deluxe Tavern,
and like Jose Muldoon's, but they had a lot of reggae bands or
Be Positive,
70s rock that was still huge. Of course, it was like the Gardens that did metal.
Yeah.
And again, they wouldn't have, you know, they wouldn't let some kid play Indigo Girls, you know, or Mary, you know, which is what I was doing. I was like playing folk music, and then it would, as the influences grew, you know, I started to write longer stuff, and then that's basically what happened. I started writing,
Right.
which is where, you know, when Brian and I started playing together, we got with a drummer who was kind of like Brand X fusion, and Brian was playing metal with The Color Insane, and I was doing like early Dave Matthews / Indigo Girls / anything I could play. And because like singing wasn't too hard. I was 21, 24, something like that, and I could pretty much sing anything, but I didn't know how to play that well. So I was, you know, Brian actually taught me a whole bunch. He'd like, "Hey man, move your finger here and slide it up." I do it. I go, "That worked. Yeah, let's play." You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we got this little 3-piece going, and then we started to write these longer kind of epic. It was like epic folk metal fusion. we had a ball. I don't know. We had a really good time.
That was a lot of fun.
Started getting gigs, and people started to know the crazy name, Terrible Jack Dormouse, and we ended up playing at the music hall, which is now called Stargazers. But they used to have these, you know, showcases, and if you could get in, you know, you were cool. You know, you were part of the scene if you could get into a showcase. So that's what we did.
Those were big events for local bands back then.
I would say 95.
The music hall showcases. Yeah.
You know, if you could get in on a showcase and get your name up on the marquee, and you know, Colorado Springs, it grew fast. But what I found as I kept doing it, you know, was that the bands were harder and harder to book. That if I had a band, which was usually pretty fun, it was hard to book, but you could get work as a solo artist or a duo if someone would play mandolin or acoustic guitar with you. If you could have a small acoustic electric setup, you could get work.
Right.
And then the pay started to go from like $20 to $30 a night to 50 to 100. And then when it got, as time went on, you know, it turned out to be where, if you're professional at it and you can make yourself look halfway decent, and you show up on time and you're sober and you play good music that people want to hear at a low volume, I started to work, you know, and then next thing you know, I was doing 3 to 5, sometimes more gigs a week with no breaks. You know, like,
wow.
Want to go home for Christmas and the work would double. You know, or because I'm from Buffalo, New York area, Lake Erie town. I go see my parents as much as I can, but there's a lot of work to do in Colorado. I know people are going to get mad at me for saying this, because we don't really need more musicians flooding the area out here, but you know, the city's exploding, and I'm really grateful to be a part of this. I mean, I've been playing up and down the Front Range. Every time a new restaurant opens, I'm driving to it, you know, and the way Colorado Springs is kind of popped, there's like all these new little centers.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like if you look at I-25 now, it's reaching north. And
It really is.
For me, you know, I ended up getting in with an agent or two. One of them is the destination services people. So where if there's out of town groups showing up and they're booking the hotels, then you know I'm the entertainment, and it's been lifeblood. You know, getting to do that work is also highly educational, because you're finding out what people want, what they want to hear, what they enjoy, what they don't want to hear, how to behave, how to dress, you know, and then you can give it your all in that, with that direction,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as opposed to being an original band where, what's your identity? Who are you, and what are you selling us, and what's the vibe that you put out, you know? And I do play original music. That's my heart, and most of the time I'm playing at least 50% original music.
Yeah.
But it mixes in with the Beatles and the Dave Matthews covers and Jason Mraz and Neil Diamond and the money making stuff that allows you to work. It's gratitude, but you know, it's love of music, right? It starts with can't wait to play. Can't wait to play. You know, my guitar's with me all the time. I went and bought one of those little 2/3,
Mm-hmm.
little baby team, you know, and I walk around the house banging it into the walls and the kitchen counter, and I go outside to get in my truck. I'm like, I still got my guitar on. But it comes from love of music. I think that's where it starts with probably every kid who wants to play. And you know, I mean, we're from a different generation,
Right.
to where, you know, when we were kids, we put the needle on the 33 record, or we turned on the AM or FM stereo, and you know, before MTV was a thing, we were listening to people play. We were listening to people sing. We were listening to people talking about love and disaster and heartbreak and blues and rock and roll and you know, the greats. And I know that that's still around because that music carries over and people still want to hear it. You know, when I play the Beatles or I play Led Zeppelin or the Stones, people love it. They dance. Well, the COVID has stopped the dancing, but you know, they're in their chair.
Right.
Right, swaying.
I went out and played. I was lucky to have a gig Saturday. It was really a fun gig, and a couple people took video, and it got posted on my page. And people are in their chair with their drinks, singing, and you know, they're doing everything they can not to get up and dance. You know, to the good stuff. So, yeah, I mean, nowadays I don't know what I hear a lot of computers, and I see a lot of DJs that do amazing things. You know, not to put that down because, wow. You know, wow. You know, like there's some Denver DJs that just, you know,
Right.
And I totally respect that. In fact, like, you know, I love bands like Incubus that have a DJ in them, and you know, they're a full-on musician. So, but for me, you know, my thing is, you know, to learn the greats. You know, like I'll play Annie's Song by John Denver. It's my way. You know, I play it like I wrote it. That's how I do it. But it gets people singing. It gets people into that vibe, that acoustic vibe. That's what I sell. You know, I'm not selling a crazy rock star up on. I'm not Anthony Kiedis. You know, I mean, my head's not on fire, and I'm not going to take off my shirt. I mean, I'm usually wearing a tie and a button-down shirt and a vest and black pants and my Adidas sneakers because I got to be comfortable. But I get up there and I play the good stuff to get a vibe going, and then I'm slipping in my originals and saying, hey, this is one of my tunes. And I use a loop pedal, but, you know, not to build loops. I'm not designing the loop skyscraper. I use it to create a rhythm and then play a lead.
Right.
And then I take the loop away and reach down and delete it every song. There's nothing in the can, so it's all live. You know, but that's just how I do it. Some guys loop so well that they don't even have to play anymore. You know?
Sure.
I don't.
It's back up their whole show.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I think that's cool. I like that. I've even heard some guys do vocal loops and stuff to where they're like, you know, making harmonies and things, and that's all really interesting. and of course, we're not putting anybody down for having the ability to control their electronics. I mean, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like to play.
Yeah.
You know, I want to put new strings on my guitar, and I want to hear that new guitar. I want to feel it when I play, and I want to sing the words fresh every time, even if I'm struggling. You know, let's say I had a cold, or I sang the night before, or whatever. I mean, I'm going to warm up, and I'm going to dedicate my day to the show. And when I show up to the gig, even if it's a 5-star hotel where I got to play quietly, or if it's a pub where people really want, you know, the bottles to start being thrown around.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm going to give it that focus of that day and show up and give a live acoustic electric performance. And the looping, for me, is just an opportunity to lead, to go away from the rhythm, play some leads, and, you know, move my hands around a little bit instead of just getting, you know,
get a full workout in.
Yeah, man, and I do. I kind of dance around. You know, I'm dancing in place, and when I'm using the pedals, it's a matter of precision. So it's a workout. Yeah, I sweat right through those clothes. I got 3 suits hanging in the closet that I'm constantly rotating and washing. You know, and I make sure that they all look good, because nobody wants to get up on stage with salt from last night. You know,
with some wrinkly guy.
Are you doing is everything solo now? Do you still have a band around you, or?
The band kind of came apart 3 years ago. They you know, had one of this fantastic drummer, and he and I got really tight over a period of like 10 years or more, where we were doing duos.
Who was that?
Stefan Flores. He plays in a band called Titan Force.
Oh, nice.
They're big in Europe.
Yeah, they are.
We're huge in Europe, bro. And they are. Nothing. Yeah, no joke. They're a Titan Force. They're amazing.
Yeah, they play huge festivals.
Yeah, they do. And they've, you know, I've seen the video footage. He decided he wanted to move more into jazz and other things. I can't even speak for him. I know he just decided that the Dave Matthews covers and the stuff we were doing wasn't working for him, so he moved on. And at that point, you know, when you lose the drummer of that caliber, it does take you down it takes you away from being in a band. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, who do I get now? You know, who's going to fill those shoes? And kudos to Steph, if he's out there watching this. You're amazing, and fool me. But you know, the good thing is that I had other players around. Like my bass player at the time was a guy named Andy Birchie, who's a jazz stand-up bass player and also an electric bass player. And he and I still get together on a pretty regular basis to work out tunes. And we're just talking now about maybe doing like a little bit of recording together. He's a phenomenal guy and a phenomenal bass player. And it's like, okay, well, if I could lay down some tracks with him, then, you know, boom. And I also work with a mandolin player named David Jeffrey, who's in a group called Grass It Up. They're bluegrass. They're one of the premier bluegrass groups in Colorado. You know, they played the Governor's Mansion. They've been all over the place. They do festivals. Huge group, and great group. And David plays with me, and we do something called the Chill Duo. And that's kind of the 5-star work, you know, when we can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Black tie, white glove kind of affairs.
Yeah, we show up looking sharp and playing quietly, just as high caliber as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a duo with a fellow named KJ Braithwaite on acoustic electric guitar for a while. We were just Clifton and Braithwaite, and we did a lot of work together. And then again, 3 years ago, when the band kind of came apart, you know, he decided he wanted to do other things. He's in a group called the Bus Band, which does Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and they sell out wherever they play. They're a phenomenal group. So cheers to all those guys. Cheers to all those guys that I work with and have worked with. Brian and I used to sit together when we didn't have our drummer, and we used to just pluck around. He'd pick up. He had a little. Didn't you have an Ovation? You had a little Ovation.
It was like a. You know, I just recently got rid of that guitar right before I moved out of Colorado, but it was an Ovation knockoff that I got from this wandering lady I mean, she's literally like wandering in the woods in Manitou, and she had it on her, and she sold it to me for $10.
A crazy lady.
Thing's been all around the country with me. It had the most unique sound. It's been on.
There was a couple of times where we just made some sweet sounds, just doing acoustic stuff, and
yeah,
it always made our drummer jealous. Hey, quit it! You guys sound too good.
And Teddy, our drummer at the time, he's a hell of a drummer, that's for sure. Yeah, that was a shame when that fell apart, but I think it kind of, for the three of us anyway, it kind of.
The thing about bands and being young or immature or trying to find your own identity, or grow, the whole process of growing up in a musical place, a musical world where you're trying to be creative, and when you try to assert like your leadership, I want the band to go this direction, or the other person might want it to go this direction, and even being open-minded, saying I'm okay with that, let's try it. And it's very rare, I think, to find a band like the Tragically Hip that stayed together from 15-year-old middle schoolers all the way till the lead singer dies of brain cancer,
right.
It's very rare to find that chemistry. I mean, Stone Temple Pilots and Guns N' Roses and all those guys mix and form New Velvet Revolver, and and they're just trying to stay working. They're trying to be busy and be on the scene, because
Right.
they can't want to be. They can't be Guns N' Roses, and they can't be Stone Temple Pilots. They got to be somebody else.
Right.
And then guys get left out. What is it about that romance of the band? I mean, you guys have been in bands too. I mean, my band, Andy Clifton and Company, was more of a working band. First we were Terrible Jack Dormouse, and it was growing up playing music together. It was really like basically sleeping on each other's couches, practicing every day. I can't make it. I got another band practice. All right, well, we'll practice without you, and then we'll fill you in when you get here.
Yeah.
And then then it became, we had a band that basically became Breaker Morant, which was, I was getting my history degree. So I took this class on this guy from this soldier who was against Empire, and did everything he could to be a good soldier, but he still ended up being a scapegoat. So it was like, oh, that's me, So I named the band Breaker Morant, and then it became Andy Clifton Band, because Dave Matthews Band was out, and I thought, well, that's, if it works for him, well, Andy Clifton Band worked for me, and then that didn't quite fly, and so company, AC&CO, Andy Clifton and Company, and that kind of put a business edge to it. Like, we're here to work, we're not here to get drunk and chase waitresses. We're here to work, and we're here to make great music and be responsible, and started kind of pepping up the image with better clothes and playing Beatles and better stuff. And it worked. And so Andy Clifton and Company is still, like, at my website right now is andycliftonandcompany.com. And when you read that, it's kind of like a sales website. It says, this is what I can do for you. Right. If you're interested in this kind of music, if you need high quality stuff from a high quality professional who's going to show up on time, who's going to make your party about you, not about, look at me,
yeah.
and crank to 11 and be like, yeah, so as it slowly went from being a child to being an adult in the music industry, the whole decorum, the whole thing switched from well, this will be great if we could crank it to 11 to this is going to be good cranked at 1.
Right.
Because I'm going to be able to eat next week.
And and still play from the heart, still play, because like one of the services that I advertise that I do is called, roving musician, which is no amplification. It's just you and your acoustic guitar and your buddy on mandolin, and you walk around the party, around the outside of the party, and you play for people. And because a lot of people will stand in one spot, and they don't get to hear the entertainment because you can't turn it up at this party. So, in your suit, you're just strolling and roaming and chatting and playing, and someone will say, you know any Stones? Sure. And play them Angie or Sympathy for the Devil or whatever, nice and quiet on the acoustic, and they just love it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to get too far away from where I started, which is for the love of music. I mean, there's no doubt that I'm still excited to get dressed and get my stuff into the truck and go to a gig. I mean, I usually get there 2 hours early. I mean, I'm a nerd. I'm a music nerd. I'm full on in love with what I do.
Right.
I was born in the early 70s. I'm 48. I'm not a kid, and this isn't easy. So you make it easy. Like, you find ways to write the best set lists quickly, and to make sure that you know all the tunes. You practice 5 tunes a week. I'm making sure I got 5 new tunes every week, and I'm doing my research. I'm spending the time doing it at home. Pretty much sitting right here with my computer and my guitar and learning the songs, and then I keep rotating through that file. And I got my gear all set up to where I have 2 tubs with, a Bose. I use the Bose S1 Pro, and if you look that up at Sweetwater or Musician's Friend, it's a full-on PA system and a little speaker that has a 24-hour lithium battery in it, and it just sounds amazing. And then I'll run that to a couple little 200-watt speakers, and I have all the gear and microphones and stuff in these 2 cases. I put those on a rack and roller cart. They go in and out of the truck, no problem. My bag with my set list, my guitar, and my cart, and I'm in one trip. So if it's a Rocky Mountain snowstorm or it's raining, which happens, man. You don't want to be making 15
typical
trips.
weather for the winter months, when you're still getting as many gigs as you did in the summer.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. When you make a living playing gigs, which is the goal, right? I mean, That's the goal. The goal isn't to only play in the summer.
No.
You want to be sure that you're out making money so you can buy your nieces and nephews Christmas presents. I mean, it's
exactly.
Now, are you sustainable with just your music?
Well, yes, and during the COVID, no. So it's yes and no. I mean, listen, it's a struggle. So I've done other things, but so St. Patty's Day, or the day before the Sunday before St. Patty's Day, I did a 3-hour gig up at Beaver Creek. I made $2,000.
Oh,
I mean, to do what I do. Now, this is going all over the country. Please don't rush to Colorado.
Yeah.
To play music. I don't need the competition. I'm sure you'd be welcomed.
There's no gigs here. There are no gigs here.
There are no gigs here. But I was booked, and, so my calendar, I do it old school with a pencil and a calendar. I do it old school. I do like alarms, start getting ready on my phone, so the phone will go off, start getting ready to go to the gig. But I book everything old school because that's how I was raised. And my calendar was booked 3 to 5 gigs a week through April 21, and continuing. And then COVID hit, and there was 5 months with no work. I came back I left for a little while to visit my folks. I came back to Colorado for July, and I ended up doing about a gig a week. And since then, it has kind of turned into 2 gigs a week, a couple of weeks with 3 here and there. But all the high-end stuff is gone.
Right.
And some of the bars didn't reopen for music. They decided they weren't going to do it. So, like, the big favorite in Manitou is the Townhouse. And once COVID hit, they were like, we're done. And they still haven't reopened, and they don't plan to for the duration of the issue.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm not speaking for them. This is what I've heard, what they told me. I hope they do, because playing the Townhouse once a month was a sure thing. It was in my calendar. It was easy to book because they're good people, and they'd be like, Andy, you set? Yep. Okay, we'll see you, every 3rd week or whatever. And you get on a roll with certain people. So when you're booking gigs, you get on a roll. Like if your band's playing the Colorado Bar A every month on the first weekend, and Colorado Bar B on the second weekend every month, and you're just going along with that booking, and you got your fans who they know what the deal is. It works out for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how hard it was to get into Southside Johnny's back when they were open.
Yep.
Because they had those same 6 bands rotating through every month, so they didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And the fans knew it, and they showed up, and it was magic. You know,
Right.
I'd get an opening spot.
Yeah.
You'd get an opening spot to play before the band, and I'd show up and do a job, and they'd start dancing, and the next thing you know, it's like, you can't play here anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, and then not just
Unless you get a
Southside Johnny's,
band.
nothing against them, but you know, they'd be like, you're good, man. We don't need the competition to get out of here. You know, and that's fine, you know, and so you just keep going until you find your own place. And then you hook up in like the Townhouse. I played there every month, you know, and when they stopped doing music, it was like, oh man, that hurts. You know, but you as like you said, somebody who makes a living doing this, you keep calling. You go through Facebook and you find anybody that's got live music, and you send them an email, you give them a phone call, you stop in, you have a beer, buy a sandwich to go. Hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time? All of a sudden you're 21 with that homemade card and your homemade CD all over again. It's like the fountain of youth.
Right.
You know?
So when
You're not really young, but you feel young. You feel
Right.
like, oh, I'm starting all over again.
when you first started music, what inspired you, or what got you into wanting to play music?
Oh man. Well, for me it was like if I was bored with Sesame Street, and going all the way back to, you know, you're just sick and tired of the Electric Company and Sesame Street, and your mom's like, well, this is the record player and these are records, and you know, this is how you do it. You got to be careful and don't touch it. And basically my mom sat me down with a stack of records, and I started going through, and I didn't like this. And I took her record collection and I made it into two different collections. Music I liked and music I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I liked some of the Broadway stuff, but not all of it. I liked some of the British Invasion stuff, but not all of it. Like, I really hated Chad and Jeremy. You know, I didn't care for that. Those guys were on Batman. You know, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear these guys. They were on Batman. Like, they stink. They're not good. Because I compared everybody to the Beatles immediately. I mean, when I was in 4th grade, I had Kiss Alive 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
Double album, you know. And I was like, I want it to sound like this, or I want it to sound like the Beatles. Or the Stones, like, you know, 19th Nervous Breakdown. Basically, my mom's record collection got me into it. And then
Same.
and then as I got into middle school, my older sister had cool albums. And I would take her cassette tapes, and boy, would she get mad. But I'd take them and I'd like listen to R.E.M. You know, some of the stuff I really loved, and some of it I really hated. Like, I didn't like The Cure, but
wow.
But I loved R.E.M. You know, and I loved the B-52s, and I loved the Indigo Girls, because they touched. You know, they reached out through their album, their music, and drew me in. My attention zoomed in, and nothing else, like, you know, nothing else seemed to matter, of course, while the record was playing or while the cassette was spinning. You know, and you're sitting looking right at the little wheels going around and around on the cassette, and you're getting that stereo effect. It was like, it was ethereal, you know. And then, of course, when I got to my freshman year of high school, and I stole my older sister's acoustic guitar, because I guess you can see the pattern there is steal from your sister. I stole her acoustic guitar because she was a piano player, and she didn't play the guitar that much, and I didn't think she'd miss it. And I thought, well, if I can just play with it a little, I might be able to figure out how to do it. And so I learned Louie Louie, and then I learned Patience, and then I started learning Indigo Girls songs, which was a lot of E and A and singing at the top of your lungs. And, you know, even if I wasn't any good at it, I'd just make up a chord and figure it out later.
Yeah.
But it went from, you know, just the idea of the hi-fi with the phonograph, and that turned into an acoustic guitar. And I never really, even though there were electric guitars in the world, and I was, you know, and you could get one, like you could borrow a friend's electric guitar, or you could go to the music store and play one. It didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel like the acoustic feels. Like when you put an acoustic guitar against your chest and you start strumming, for me, that's like there's the note. That's what I sing. This note, and the guitar goes right through your chest. And the electric, you had to turn your amp up, loud, and my dad would be like, "Turn that crap on." Like I learned how to play Pretty Woman, and I wanted to play it on electric guitar like Eddie Van Halen did. I wanted to be like, na 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 na, yeah, right. My dad came up and he's like, down. So I couldn't get that feeling from it, and that's the same reason I never really got into piano. Piano for me was out here.
Yeah.
Piano was out here, and even though I love piano, and it didn't vibrate me like an acoustic guitar strapped to your chest vibrates my whole body. And I go there. I go to the Magic Andy place,
Right.
where it's like playing a hockey game. It's like nothing else matters in this moment except the now. And as I get older, like I said, I'm 48 now, I'm really realizing for the first time, I think, just how precious the now is.
Right.
Like the past is gone. There's no fear of the future. There's just now. And when I'm on stage playing, that's part of my love of music and live music. Because I think we all as adults get anxiety from different things than we got anxiety from when we were kids.
Right.
Like when you're a kid, am I kissable? Am I going to go to the prom this year? The anxiety of, will I get my driver's license? The anxiety of, do I have Levi's or am I wearing tough skins? There's a lot of anxiety, for children. I mean, we overlook that, but Brian, you're a parent, man. You're a father. Yep. You're a dad. And that those kids got anxiety over whatever and anything. And you think about when I was their age, I was kind of anxious too. It wasn't as serious as my anxiety is now, which it is. It's just different. It's just different. So when I play music, I still look forward to that. I still can't wait to get my game on. I can't wait to get my game face on and be what they want. Right. Be what they need, what they hire me for. If they hire me for pub barroom and they want me to play Plush and Zeppelin and go up to the top register and be like, yeah, well then I'm yes. If they want me to be subdued and serene and 5-star, then I am that. And I'm still going to get the juice out of it. I'm still going to get my zen. Yeah, I'm still going to find zen playing music. And I know that when I was first starting to play, that was what was the draw, Brian. That was the draw for me, was when the guitar started to vibrate and that C chord was vibrating, and I started to learn how to sing along with that vibrating C chord. Man, that was all that matters. Right. And still this day, maybe I'm playing, major sevenths or whatever, I mean, it's a little more complicated now, is because you start to play more and more and more and learn more and more stuff. It's I don't think it's any less tangible, any less a part of me, or any less putting me in the now than it did back then as a kid. I still feel like that's like the fountain of youth, I mean, music, it's more than just performing. I mean, performance is I think performing your art is an honor. Right. And I try to be graceful about it, and I try very hard to be professional about it, and that's where you get rehired. Mm-hmm. That's where you get a good reputation, and people say, okay, well, we've got an event coming up, call Andy. Right. Call me. I'm gonna get to work for you, and I'm gonna show up and do a great job. Right. And you're not gonna worry about the musician. There isn't going to be somebody screwing it up. Yeah, there's going to be somebody. Where is he? Oh, he's off doing something else. No. No. So I mean, shoot, you have a lot of people who really are wonderful when they hire me. They write nice things, or they give me a nice recommendation. I ask them, if I could use them as a reference, and they're like, yes. And I end up with kind of a armory of people's recommendations that work. Right. So, I can provide references if needed, and that's where you make new friends and you get new references. It is very much to me like being a really great electrician.
Right.
or being a really great plumber, or being a really great professional in some, doctors practice law, or doctors practice medicine and lawyers practice law. Well, I practice being a great professional performer, and
Right.
I just be me, so to speak. I don't know. How do you? The question, I think, the original question was, what got me started? Well, as you can tell, I still have a lot of passion for it. I get started. I start going. I start talking about it because this is what I want to do. So during like the hurdles that show up, like with the COVID, where gigs are just canceled, or they'll say to you, we can only pay you $100, or that's an issue. That's like, well, that's a slippery slope.
Right.
That downplays my importance to almost negligible. When you really need me, you want me to be there, you're calling me, you're sending me the emails, you're trying to get me on the calendar. But that slippery slope of how many of those gigs do you take, and how do you talk about it with the venue
before it becomes the gig that you take? Yeah,
before it becomes the norm, because
Right.
that can't happen. That's not right, especially when you got somebody with 30 years of experience. You're not just paying for the 3-4 hours, you're paying for a lifetime of experience to show up and present your business
Right.
in the best possible light. So it's a slippery slope to take gigs that are less than you want to make for your night of work, because it really is a 7-8 hour, even longer commitment.
Right.
Even if they only want you to play for 2 hours.
Right.
That's a really good point, Andy. I hope that resonates with a lot of musicians out there that, sure. I mean, I know a lot of guys out there, their feeling is they just want to get out and play. But if you're out there making any kind of money, to take that into account, that, you gotta be careful with that. 'Cause you're right. It could suddenly become the norm, even if things ever, however it is, they get back to normal, suddenly, well, this is all we paid you for the past 6-8 months, whatever the case is.
That's on people's minds. How can we cut corners to save our business?
Right.
Right.
And I can understand businesses aspect to a point.
I have a lot of respect for people who make, chefs and baristas and bartenders and artists.
Right.
This is especially Colorado Springs is a city full of artists.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, you just take a look at this beautiful, beautiful place we live in, and why wouldn't artists live here?
Right.
You want to go. I open up my window and I go outside, and there's Pikes Peak.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful, right? Every day it's different, and every day it's inspiring, and you just get this feeling of I'm in the right place. When you start telling artists they can't work anymore, or we're only going to pay you half or 1/3 of what we paid you in the past, and we expect the same. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, back in the day when I first started getting going with this professional thing, to where I was taking my music and my experience to a new level. I was focused on that. I was cognitive of this, that I am not just doing this for a goof.
Right.
That this is now becoming my main professional identity, and also my personal identity. Andy Clifton. I'm not using a stage name.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton mixed together. It's my name is really Andy Clifton. And I'm putting that on the marquee, or I'm putting that in the newspaper, or that's going on the radio, or that's the guy, that's me going out. I mean, I got to take my act to another level.
Right.
In fact, let's not make it an act. Let's make it really great music.
Right.
From the first note, like no sound check, get everything set up, get up there and play and sound great for 4 hours.
Right.
And then go home and then go do it again the next day and sound just as good.
Right.
All week long, every week, 52 weeks a year. So I started to become that person, and you get, you're always looking for gigs. You're always networking. You're always talking to people. You're always meeting managers. You're always meeting bar owners. People start passing your card around for you, and you get that phone call. I'm opening a bar, and I want you to come play. And I'd say, great, it's $500 or something. I'm just, let's just throw that number out there. well, that's way above my price range. And I'd say, okay, let's talk. What do you need? And I'd work it out, and we'd come to an agreement, and it would work. Or they'd say, hey, man, I can hire my sister's brother's blues band for $200. And I would say, well, I think you should do that. You know, no hard feelings. Just make sure you keep my card in your wallet, because after that gig, you're going to call me back and we're going to talk. Because
it's going to be $500 still.
Yeah, I mean, and not to be like, not to be a jerk about it, but
well, people don't understand also that you spend years perfecting your craft and bringing yourself up to that price range.
Yeah, not just the music,
for your
too.
service, right?
Yeah, for knowing how to make the PA sound good. You know, I heard your guys' band at back east, and you guys were using in-ears, and you had your main speakers dialed in so tight, and you were rocking. I mean, you know, you guys were slamming it, and the volume was perfect. Yeah. You know, you know, Less Than Zero you guys knew.
That's why we insisted on having an electronic drum kit, so that we could play to each room specifically.
And it worked. I mean, you guys had your tones and your volumes perfect. You can get what you pay for. You know, you can get what you pay for. I mean, and so, I mean, how did you guys deal with undercutting? You know, I mean, because not just COVID, but it's something that happens to musicians all the time.
You know, we were lucky. After that first year, we were established enough that, for the most part, the bar owners were talking to each other, and they were, you know, Johnny was only too glad to let anybody know how much money we made them on a weekend. You know what I mean? He was only too happy to let you know about it. You know what I mean? So word got out, and, you know, we didn't push ourselves up for liquor.
And people showed up. People showed up. Yeah. And when you get through to someone, like you were saying, when you finally get through to them and you find your niche and you're on the schedule every month, and the pay it's pretty much a no-brainer, because they know it's worth it. Yeah. And I found that to be a lot easier with the solo stuff. I found that to be, you know, hey, it's all on me.
Right.
You know, there's nobody else involved in this transaction. I guarantee what I'm going to do is going to work for you, and it's going to be right on the money, because it's just this guy. Andy Clifton and Company is Andy Clifton with his guitar and his gear. That's the company.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. We delivered exactly what we said we were going to deliver.
And that's how you do it
every weekend.
That's the point. That's the point. So that's how you handle the undercutting. You got to build the reputation.
That's exactly right.
Forever and ever. You know, every gig. Have you ever had one of the musicians that might be playing with you ever, and I'm not saying call out any names or anything like that, but you ever had anybody do something that where it made it feel like it made you look bad to
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Over and over. At least once a gig, you know, at least once a gig, and more back in the old days when you hadn't really put your foot down yet, and you hadn't made it clear who was in charge, and you know, time went on and people got a little older, especially, you know, everyone in the band grows up a little, or you get new band members that are a little older because your age group kind of stick. Like I started hiring older dudes.
Yeah.
And that hurt a little bit when it came to, like, you know, they didn't want, you know, they basically don't want a bunch of old guys on stage.
Right.
Nothing again, you know, there's a little ageism in rock and roll, although, I mean, the Stones are still playing, so, you know, but the second I switched to some more pro-like gear, and made sure that keeping the volume low was a priority, that it became easier to be professional and to stop having those issues with, of course, getting rid of other players. Not that that's the goal either, because bands are amazing. I like duos, I like trios, but switching away from the percussive, like, because you can still rock without a drummer. You know, I'm a thorough believer that you can still have that head nodding effect on a crowd without the drums. Not that I dislike drums, because a great drummer makes my day all the time. You know, I'm a huge fan of a great drummer, but to do the professional stuff, I found that if somebody can play a cajon or if somebody can, you know, even just do percussion without, you know, some kind of percussion without, you know, I'm always open to, like, in my own personal world, in my own professional world, if somebody says I'm a percussionist, I'm going to be like, let's hear what you got. You know, I'm not going to tell you what to do,
Right.
but I might not hire you.
Yeah. No, it's funny you bring up the electric drums. I could be wrong on how many times I've been a part of a show with electronic drums, but the one that I remember, and I remember this, it was with Terrible Jack. We had we had a weird 3-day stint. We had played in Denver up at Cricket on the Hill, and it was the day after or the night before I played there with my other band at the time. And one of the guys in that band had done something to a waitress that got us 86th from the bar. They were like, you guys never come here again. And I'm thinking, oh shit, I got to play here tomorrow night with Terrible Jack. We went up, obviously nothing happened. Everything went off without a hitch. There was a crazy snowstorm when we were driving home.
That's right.
But then we ended up playing, I'm pretty sure it was in the like this, either the next day or within a couple of days. We went to,
is that the one down in Canyon City?
It wasn't Canyon City. When we played the beauty pageant show.
Yeah, we played a beauty pageant down in, I think it was Canyon City.
No, wait, what is the place on the border of New Mexico? The sex change capital place. Trinidad. That wasn't, well, maybe it wasn't true. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Maybe it was Canyon City.
But I remember the beauty pageant.
I remember we went down there, and
those girls were mean.
This was my favorite. They were all like, they were so young. And they were mean, but it was funny because we got down there and they put us up in this really nice hotel, gave us like this badass food and everything. And I remember thinking, holy shit, man, this is awesome. And we went and played the show, and they televised it on some local channel down there, right?
Yeah.
And right after that, we went and played a little, like, a coffee shop or a cafe or something. And but I remember
I forgot all about that coffee shop. That was a great show. That was the best part.
That part was fun. But we did this. So we're sitting there, and we're getting ready to go on. And all the beauty pageant girls are like standing next to, and they were very mean girls. They were very mean.
They were backstage, and we were backstage setting up.
Yeah. So we go out there, we get over to the coffee shop after, and we were like, oh, that was pretty cool. You know, got to play on TV, and everybody's like, yeah. All we could hear was the drums and the vocals, man. We couldn't hear any, because we had the electronic drums, and they're like, that's all you could hear was drums. So basically, me and Andy are just like standing up there playing our instruments, and they couldn't hear any of it.
So yeah, we get up on stage, it gets set up on stage, and I had my amplifier for my guitar, which is an acoustic guitar running through a Fender. I still have that big Fender amplifier, still have that thing.
Nice.
And the drummer was on his electric drum kit with kind of like a twin of what I was playing through my guitar, like basically a keyboard amp, basically. And you had
I just have my little SWR amp.
SWR, right? Yeah. with your cool bass.
The same one, Christian, that I let you use at that same SWR.
Right. So that's what we have. And I'm like, well, what am I going to sing through? And they're like, well, here's the mic for this. There's a microphone on stage. That's what you're going to use. And I was like, okay. And little did we know that was the only sound going through the television. That microphone, right? We didn't know. They didn't tell us.
We had no idea.
So, like, if I had known that, I probably would have brought my own mic and plugged in and let that microphone hear the whole band. But instead, I'm up singing through that microphone. And so that's what's getting broadcast through the television.
That was funny. That was a good time.
It was crazy. Yeah, the things that happened is like total Spinal Tap kind of thing. It was just out of control. Oh. Yeah, that was we were kids, man. We were kids.
I was thinking about this to give people an idea of how long ago this was. I remember that we were doing a show at the Underground, and I remember getting a hold of Andy's his set list and writing on there because it was his birthday. It was his 25th birthday, and I remember writing on there, "You are officially old." I think about that now, like
it was 1995, 1996, maybe.
Yeah, and but he had just turned 25, so that's
23
and I
just got out of the Army.
Yep.
and
Yep.
all I wanted to do was play guitar and sing. Man, I just got back from Iraq at the time, and 2 weeks later I was out. My tour was over and I was out.
Yeah.
And I got kind of dumped out from Fort Carson, kind of dumped out into Colorado Springs. Here you go. And I was, shell shocked for one. I guess that term is kind of outdated, but dealing with the change and dealing with coming back to the big PX, dealing with the whole thing, and I just thought, this guitar is going to save me.
Right.
I found some stuff. This was me and my father and my grandfather and my little sister. I think that was like maybe I've been playing for a year at the most, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
That's like a Spanish style nylon string guitar.
Nice.
Nice.
And, it was like something that they bought for the family. And, and we would just sit around and play. I mean, it was really all American 1970s something family, And of course, that was the 80s.
Right.
But then this was me when I got out of the Army, playing down in the underground.
Yeah.
I had that Black Guild acoustic electric.
You still have that?
No, it got stolen.
Oh, shit.
Bummer.
Got stolen. And then, Brian, you're going to love these, man. This was Terrible Jack Dormouse.
Yeah, I have these pictures.
That's so it went from, we were just a different group of guys, man. We were,
Classic.
kind of everybody just kind of hanging out on a deck. And then, of course, here you go, Brian. There's Brian right there with.
Holy shit. I haven't seen that picture in a long ass time.
Right?
You were sitting on a stool. You were sitting on a bar stool
Yep.
at a gig, and you just. I remember that T-shirt you had called Tanger.
Yeah, with the little girl banging her head off the ground.
Yeah.
What's funny about that is I got that T-shirt from Christian's ex-wife. I don't remember how. I don't remember what it was, but we like traded shirts or something, and she gave me that shirt. And
Here's the coup de grace. Here's the before selfies were a thing.
holy shit.
I mean, we were basically Seattle in Colorado Springs.
That's fucking funny. Look at that hair on you, you hippie.
What?
Shit.
You were, yeah. I mean, we looked like Alice in Chains, and we were not them.
Oh,
So,
shit.
this has been wonderful talking to you guys and discussing this world that I occupy, and
It's been. We appreciate you coming on.
the thoughts of these thoughts about the music business, to being a live performer, because I really I have recorded albums. I think I've done 7 full original albums, and then a bunch of live stuff. And I put the CDs for sale on my website, and then I'd use something like Kunaki.com because it prints, and you don't have to keep like 1,000 CDs in your garage. It does it all for you. And then they go out of print, and I'm thinking like right now all my CDs are out of print. And the last one I did was 2017, October 2017. I did a solo album, and then it just, after they go out of print, I move on to the next thing. And I haven't done any new recordings because it really hasn't been an income builder.
Right.
Getting out in front of people and giving them a really great night of live music, and that vibe of music at the right volume, at the right songs played at the right time of night, the right volume on your microphone, the right tone on your guitar. That's where the income is.
Right.
And selling CDs hasn't been a thing.
Have you gotten much into like the digital realm of it? I mean, do you sell anything through iTunes or
No,
Spotify,
I haven't really.
wherever it is you sell stuff like that? But
No, I haven't investigated it. I do have a Reverb Nation account, which I know that through them you can create a store, you can do downloads, and I know that there's a lot like you were just mentioning, the those other services. But no, I mean, I haven't. Although maybe I should.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question. How do you feel? Like, how do you feel, for better or worse, the internet has impacted the music industry?
It's been easier to book.
Yeah.
Gotta tell you, like I said, I used to walk downtown. I used to drive to every bar that there was, every restaurant with music or every venue you could think of, and you go in there and you got to meet the guy, or you might have to come back. They're not always there.
Right.
You're making phone calls, and the internet has, like with Facebook, where you can look up venues, or you can go, like, you can just ask, you can ask Google live venues in Denver.
Right.
And it'll come up with a big list of live venues. Now, not every one of those is a workable venue, but there's information there, and then you can find them on Facebook and get a map. You can get, a phone number, an email, a website, a contact, and you can hit all of them and give them a call, and you book gigs.
Right.
You have to be. I think that before it was more face-to-face, and now it's more computer. And I wish it was even like this. Because, like, looking at you guys and talking to you guys is pretty effective. I feel very open about talking to you guys, and with booking, you don't get that. You either get an email, you might get an email back if they really need your service, and then you go from there. It's as I assume e-dating would be. A pain in the butt.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, but
Right.
I don't do that. No. Maybe that's why I'm single too. But no, I mean, booking has become more of a computer thing, and I think with lots of business, especially like right now, people don't want to go shopping. They want to get on Amazon. They want to have it delivered. They don't want to be out in the world. And so I'm grateful for the internet and the ability to reach out to a booking agent or a venue manager. Online. That's great. The best gigs are the ones where I can send them a text message and they'll say, "Hey, call me in 15 minutes."
Right.
And I call them. Those are the old relationships that fold over month after month. And most likely they'll say, "Let's book the year," which is what I had. Like I said, prior to COVID, I was 3 to 5 gigs a week through April 21. Because they know me, they like me, we work, I like them. We've got a great two-way relationship where I'm providing professional, responsible music at the right volume for, with the right vibe, and they're giving me dates.
Right.
And I show up, I play, I get my check and a to-go sandwich, and I'm out the door, without any hassle, no problems whatsoever, and that's what they want.
Right.
So the internet's made it, that has made reaching out to new places a little less personal, but it has been effective. And there are probably, there's an approach to it, I think. There's got to be an art to that as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking at my calendar right now, and I've got the next 2 weeks are really busy. Tomorrow night I'm doing a recording session. I'm really grateful to be working with with my buddies in Grass It Up. We're doing a quick recording session. We're going to do it outside, so that's exciting. Hopefully it won't be too windy. I mean, if it's too windy, we'll figure something else out. But that's a paid job that I take very seriously, and I'm going to show up ready to give them the best vocals I can. Been working on it for a week and a half now, every day, and it's some challenging music. And I actually did a private party last week with a mask.
Nice.
Where I would, I played with the mask on, and then I have this like stretchy neck scarf that I put on over it to keep it really tight. And it was kind of like a compression. Like, it actually was kind of interesting. Like, it kept the vocals from getting too wild,
Yeah.
I guess that it wasn't bad. If I had a mask that was like falling off the whole time and I had to let go of my guitar to pull the mask up, that would have been a hassle. But the second scarf, the tight nylon scarf over the mask, held it up. It worked pretty well.
Yeah.
I just turned the vocals up a little louder than I normally would, and sang. I want to work.
Yeah.
And not to be insensitive, and I know I'm coming off extremely insensitive right now. I'm so sorry for anyone who's lost anyone. My heart breaks. You know, I have my own fears about my own family with that. But if live gatherings and live music go away, what's it really about? I mean, what's really happening? What are we giving up? You know, it's very easy to fall for the security and give up your soul because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. You know, I mean, you know, I don't know politics. I don't want to know politics. I'm not even gonna get into it. I do feel horrible saying that I want to go to work when I know there's people out there suffering from this thing.
Well, you know, I don't think that's a rare outlook. Honestly, I think everybody would. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to get back to work. You know,
Some more than others.
some absolutely, and you know, when you talk about the gatherings and stuff, I mean, that's definitely it could be a double-edged sword. I mean, with being in the music industry, it's something you kind of depend on. If you're gonna have any kind of sustainable career to it, obviously. But you know, at that point, if you know, and Christian and I are starting to find, you know, more and more bands that have been able to at least book some things. You know, we had some friends of ours who had a show booked for a couple of days ago that they had sold. There was a bunch of tickets sold, and then the restrictions hit, so the bar was going to go down to like 50 people, and they had sold.
Yeah, 50. That's pretty much the number, and sometimes it's 25. I think in certain states.
Yeah, so they had sold a bunch more tickets than that. So they decided, as bands, they all decided they would postpone it to January and try and honor all the tickets that they had sold. So I mean, you know, that's I think that was probably a little bit different situation than.
Well, sure. I mean, in my situation, people can stay seated and stay 6 feet to 10 feet apart. You know, if the band has a very heavy mosh characteristic to it, and moshing is the activity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to get up in the pit and you want to knock into each other and release your, you know, your
wiggles.
Yeah, you want to release your wiggles. This is putting a crunch on that. You know, right. I mean, the other night I was playing, and this lady and her partner got up and started dancing, and the bartender came by and said, "You gotta sit down."
Yeah,
and it was, you know, that's a fresh wound.
Right.
Like, whoa, you know, that's.
People ain't used to being told something like that, man.
Right.
It's not common, you know. That's not something that, you know, the music gets you going. You got a drink. You're having some good food. The venue's doing everything they can to make it comfortable. You're feeling good. The music's just right. The vibe is sweet. Come on.
Yeah.
And then you're told, no.
Yeah.
You gotta sit.
It's
and
very...
you know, okay. You know, I've gone and I played some of these 4- and 5-star gigs that I do where, you know, it's subdued anyways. And you still see people in their chairs, you know,
right.
And they're huffing and puffing. They're dancing in their chair. They're chair dancing, you know,
right.
And that's the new normal. Like, we're gonna get our boogie on in our chair,
right?
You know, not gonna get up because we're not allowed to,
right?
Or, you know, or the restaurant has to close,
right?
Or the restaurant gets fined $10,000,
right?
What restaurant can take that kind of a hit and still pay their artisan staff? You know, I mean, it's not so I've done other things, like I've taken on a couple of students.
Mm-hmm.
So one is, you know, face to face, where we're working on guitar and we're talking about performance, and we're talking about, you know, how do you make sure that you feel comfortable at the gig, and how do you provide the best music, you know, every little thing from breathing to how you stand, mm-hmm. to what are you wearing, to you know, how do you build up your confidence level, you know, things like, well, you use the same rug every time, you use the same mic stand every time, you build up your confidence through repetition with your gear, you know, and your set list, you know, you're constantly writing your set list. So that's what the lessons are about. It's not just guitar. It's not just singing. It's how do you be a performer and how do you do it well? And that's both been really, really good for me to go over those kind of topics and talk to a student about what it is that we do, not just how do you do it, but what is it that you're doing? You know, it's a philosophy,
right?
Not just a mechanical job.
Right.
So, you know, it's nice to have a student. It's something that's new to me. I don't think I've ever would have been really ready for that. As have always been a student myself. I've always been a learner, as opposed to hey, I have the information, I'm going to share it with you. It's more like me going, oh, you know, oh, I got a question. Oh, I need to know. Not, oh, I have the answer to that. Here it is. You know,
Right.
So that's new to me. But as it turns out, as these lessons have gone through the weeks, turns out I do have a lot of information to share. It made me feel pretty good to teach basics and philosophy of performing.
Right.
That's been great for me, and the students say that he's gotten a lot out of it.
Excellent.
As well. So, you know, he wants to continue, and I'm grateful because that just gives me another night of music. Even if it's not at performance pay, it's still good to have that income on a Tuesday night or whatever we're doing, you know.
Right.
And then I have a couple Zoom lessons. Started with my niece, with my little sister's beautiful baby girl who wants to play guitar, and so that's where I kind of started to feel good about that whole idea of sharing music with students. So that's good. That's something new that, you know, and that I'm thinking I might even add to the website, you know, at some point, because it's getting to where if performing is, you know, right now you know, people are saying, you know, if you want to go to a concert, you got to have a vaccine. You got to have paperwork. Papers, please.
Yep.
You know, if you want to go to a rock concert at Red Rocks, you got to have, I don't know, a laser scan? I don't know. What are they going to do? I mean, everyone going to carry around their little card that says I've been vaccinated?
Right.
I mean, we're really looking at a different freedom here, you know, or a semi-freedom now.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not trying to be political. I'm trying to figure out how to keep live music alive in my life, you know, and in my career. And, you know, my bucket list has always been to someday to play Red Rocks, to perform there, you know, even if it was, you know, a band in a movie night, you know, how they do that sometimes where they band play and then they do a movie. I'd play there in the afternoon. I don't care. You know, it would be nice to do a night gig where the stars are out and the moon's above the stage, but you know, even national acts are not getting that right now.
Right.
You know, I mean, so who knows if that's but finding other ways to make live music, I don't want to use the word pay, but to make live music stay in my life and to keep it a viable thing. It's a challenge right now.
Right.
Challenge right now. I mean, I know I have a friend who's a rigger. And he's, you know, they're not working. There's no tours.
Right.
And I got a buddy who's a steel worker, and he was like, we used to make all kinds of rigging for acts, and says now we're back on rooftops building buildings. You know,
right.
This business is changing daily right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Having a book full of dates, looking at what I have coming up this week and next week, so grateful. You know, anybody out there who thinks I'm complaining, they're wrong. I'm grateful. I'm super grateful. I get a chance to put new strings on my guitar and play a gig and sound good for people and help them make money.
Right.
And help their businesses thrive. You know, I know that's what it's about. It's got to be about service. It's got to be. Because when you're in the now and you're doing something in the now for somebody else, for another, something bigger than you, well, your playing gets better, your focus is tighter, you know, you really do get to be in the now. And that's where it's at. And right now I have December off because I'm heading to see my folks. I usually drive because that way I can limit my exposure.
Right.
You know, I don't have to see anybody. I can just get the gas in the car and keep driving and take food from the house here. And then I'll come back, and as it is right now, I have a New Year's gig, and I have some January stuff booked that hopefully will happen.
Right.
You know, and besides, I mean, besides opening a school of being an acoustic electric performer, I don't really know.
Right.
Really know what's going to happen.
Solid plan, brother.
My opinion on it all is like, you know, well, I mean, I certainly have faith that it's all going to come back at some point. Whether things are a little different or not, I'm sure they will be at the beginning, but it's all going to come back. I mean, entertainment in general is too important to everyone for it to just not be there. So it's going to come back. It's just a matter of, you know, all entertainers, all the behind the scenes people, as long as everybody can somehow get themselves through until it can get back. You know, Christian and I we're both stagehands for most of our lives, and that's what we do. And we haven't had work since March, and it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be one of the last things that actually comes back. You know, they've had obviously a lot of business come back, close down again. You know, we haven't had to endure anything like that. And we're starting to see, like with the company I work for, I got a newsletter that says, you know, you're either going to have, I can't remember the particulars to it, but it was either a vaccine whenever that is available.
Right.
Or there was something else that you had to have in order to even just come work, you know. And I myself, I too am ready to go back to work, but I'm also appreciative that companies like that can have enough concern for employee, whether it's concern or whether it's in a contract, because that's what the music guy says or the tour says, which is fine. Also, I'm glad that there's some concern for somebody, which in turn can make it.
So you're getting the feeling that they're looking forward
absolutely
to solutions.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, you see a lot of like the drive-in things happening, which obviously people in their cars, it's not the same. I understand that. But it's something. And I think
I just saw that the Flaming Lips did a bubble concert.
They
Have you
did.
seen that?
Everybody was in their own individual bubble, and I heard it went off pretty good.
And the band too. The band and everybody
Yes.
was in bubbles, and so the lead singer's bubble was bouncing across the audience. It's all in bubbles. And I guess it went off. I guess it happened.
I'm not sure what the capacity was for that show, but it seemed like there were a lot of people there.
There were enough people in the audience to let him bubble across the top of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty ingenious. I don't know if that is actually like if it's actually safe. Like, is it really
Right.
air
That
separate?
follows the CDC guidelines or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's really like it was. It sounds like it was safe, but
I'm sure it was, because you got to figure, even with masks, those masks don't stop everything, but they help. It's a help. It's it's another hurdle that whatever it is has to get through. So I'm sure that's the same type of thing. It's probably not. It's probably not fail safe, but it's
no. I mean, I
got to help.
Like I said the other night when I was singing, I did a party with the mask on and another thing over the mask to keep it tight. And after an hour and a half, when I took my first break, I had several masks. They're handmade, hand sewn, because my mom is amazing, and she sewed these masks for all me and my sisters. And they're the 4 layers of cotton and the extra. They're really nice.
Right.
They're the ones that was told is better than the medical mask. But having that on, and I went to the bathroom and washed my hands and took the mask off. It was soaked.
Yeah.
Because when I'm singing, you're not just respirating, but you're spitting, and
right.
The mask was soaked. I put it in the bag, and I put it in a plastic bag and put it in my bag, and I got a fresh mask and put the thing back on and went out and did the second set. And at the end of the night, I had 3 soaked masks, and because you're singing,
mm-hmm.
But if I hadn't been wearing those masks, and all that water
right
would have been everywhere,
right,
flying out into their backyard,
right.
But you know, the mask helps. I'm sure that I felt much better about playing the gig,
Right.
knowing that I had kept all that moisture and water in.
Right. But I mean, I think it's great that you were able to do that. You're not, you know, and you know, you
No, thanks. Yeah.
you know, you were saying it's, you know, it wasn't that bad. It's not, and I'm sure obviously it's not going to be for everybody, but you know, again, in Christian and I's position, you know, I know a lot of people, and again, I'm not trying to get political about the whole thing, but I hear a lot of arguments like, well, it impedes on my freedom. Well, right now, my ability to work has come down to, there's a lot of people that feel like it doesn't pertain to them. They don't have to do their part. They don't have to. And I feel like, you know, if everybody could just have faith that we're going to get through this, you know, the quicker that we can get ourselves to, hopefully these vaccines are worth a shit and they help. If we can get ourselves to that point, then there's some of us that are depending on things to get better in order for us to get back to work. Because we can't just go out and be like, fuck it, I'm going to go back to work, whether you say I can or not. We can't do that because
normally it takes a year to plan a tour for a
right. And it's again, I'm not trying to get political or bitch or anything like that. I mean, you know, nobody wanted this. Nobody planned on this crap, and it sucks. But that's where my frustration comes in. Is like if we all just could do our parts, and yeah, it might be inconvenient. I get it. It's definitely inconvenient, but let's do what we can so that everybody can thrive, so that everybody can get back out and be free again. You know,
I think it's for me, if I can put on a mask and you know, I put one in to go to the grocery store. I put the mask on to go into a restaurant. Like when I'm loading in to play the venue, I'm putting it on. Went and played this party, and I went through 3 masks and soaked them all the way through. But you know, the mask to me seems like it would be way more comfortable than a ventilator.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? And
you sing a lot better.
It might not be me in the ventilator. It might be
right.
someone else, and it could be my fault. So, you know, I don't want to be responsible for anyone else's pain. And you know, like I said, I do this because I really love being in the now and sharing the music and watching people smile and dance in their chairs. Certainly don't want to be responsible for them going into a hospital bed, you know.
Right.
I will wear my mask. I don't care.
Right.
I'll sing with the mask on. I don't care. I'm not telling anyone else what to do.
Right.
But like you said, if I can get back to work and I can make it so other people can get back to work, I would choose that.
Right. And I
would
agree
choose
with you.
the one that lets people work.
I'm certainly not here trying to preach to anybody on what to do or how to do it. You know, that's not my place. Just my personal frustration when I watch it all. I'm just like, you know, this is just, and maybe it's a selfish thought, but I'm thinking about our whole industry. There's nothing that we can do. We can't just say fuck it and go do it. Whether, you know, we have nowhere to go. We have nothing to do. We have, you know, it's just not there.
The end goal's got to be live music. So what's the best thing? You know, the greater good, or whatever you want to call it. What makes the most sense is to figure out a way to beat this thing, you know, and like you said, just saying F it and going about your life like there really is no problem. Well, you know, you might end up having a bigger problem in the end.
Right.
And if, I don't know, think about this. This is something I think about all the time. There are times in life when you got to just say forget it and go on and go do something else. But when your goal is in mind, when your focus is on something, just saying forget it doesn't lead you towards your goal.
Right.
If you have a goal and you want to get there, most of the time focus and willpower and, you know, self-discipline, I know that those words might be foreign to some people, but putting yourself in the best possible shoot to get to that end goal, and instead of saying forget it, saying no, focus on it, remember it, usually gets you to your goal quicker than saying forget it.
Right. You know, and it's just my political statement of the show right now.
Go for it.
In the wise words of Jackie Moon, ELE, everybody love everybody. Quit hating each other. We got to all get through this stuff together, man. All right, Andy. So we got just a few more questions for you. Then we got to special segment for you.
Okay.
Okay. Question number one is, what would you pick for your last meal?
Oh boy, my last meal. I would probably pick my mom's meatloaf from, 1979. Mom's
call.
meatloaf.
Good
Yeah.
call. What do you think would be a fitting epitaph on your gravestone?
He lived. Or he really lived.
Nice.
Or something like that, like don't cry for me, Argentina, He lived. He actually lived. This guy didn't waste his time. He lived. And if, yeah, something along the lines of Andy really lived. Because I have. I've spent a lot of nights playing music, and I've never regretted 1 second of it. And yes, this is a difficult existence, Yes, I don't see myself becoming a bazillionaire doing this. That's not why I do it. It's because I get to be the real me in the now when I do this. And I think that's really living. So, yeah,
Excellent.
good question.
Excellent. Okay. And our final question for this part, how do you feel about garden gnomes?
Garden gnomes?
Garden gnomes.
Well, I don't have anything against garden gnomes. I don't like, if I was going to fall on one, I wouldn't want to fall on the hat of a garden gnome. But besides, I think that what's the movie where the Full Monty, is it I'm getting a memory of the Full Monty.
That is,
you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, where they're chasing him through
where the guy's
garden.
like,
he has a garden accident.
He's freaking out over the gnomes. He's like, don't mess with the gnomes. And the other guy's like smashing the gnomes. Well, I can't wait to hear what this is all about. What's going on with the gnomes?
All right, so that brings us to our final segment, Andy. This is called the lightning round. What we're going to do is Christian and I are going to, in rapid fire succession, we're going to ask you 5 questions.
Okay.
Just want you to answer as quickly as possible. And
kind of like a Rorschach inkblot test of words.
something like that. We'll
First
go
thing
with
that comes to my mind kind of thing?
Sure
Pretty
thing.
much.
We're
right.
going to go back and forth. Christian will start, and then we will go back and forth until we hit question number 5, okay?
And here
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
go.
All right.
Has your partner ever shown an interest in whitewater rafting?
Well, my partner? I would have to say no, and then no partner. So
Have you ever considered growing your own cabbage?
I've never considered that.
If you knew a spell to summon Jesus, what would your one wish be?
To summon Jesus and ask for a wish from Jesus. For this, what we were talking about, for live music debate to be back,
All right.
full on, for it to be life again. Yeah.
Perfect. How many snow shovels were sold in the U.S. last year?
42,397.
Great answer.
Why are manhole covers round?
Because there's soon to be teleport devices. And they were planning ahead for the teleport to fit in that manhole.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Good ansers.
Oh, that's it. Come on, do some more.
Very well done.
I love this kind of thing.
Thanks for playing the lightning round there, Andy Clifton.
That's
You got it, you guys.
By the way, the lightning round is brought to you by questions of our viewers from around the world. There you go.
Wonderful, wonderful. And maybe I will grow my own cabbage.
There you go.
I think that's pretty much it. That could end up being currency. So
It's
You never
delicious.
know, right? You never know.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. It sounds like some of the answers came from this guy.
Oh, shit. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Andy. We really do
What a
appreciate
pleasure,
it.
man. Thank you guys. Love talking about music and live music, and especially with two people who know all the things that you guys know. And Brian, man, I love you, man. I miss you. I'm so glad to connect.
I love and miss you
When
too,
you when
man.
you when you got a hold of me and said that and started telling me this, and we got a chance to catch up, and I found out about you being down where you are, and and us talking about our past. It really sewed some things up for me, man. It was really good to connect with you.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know I love you, bro.
Oh, I love you too. I feel the same way, Andy, man.
And Less Than Zero, you guys were it.
We had our day in the sun, my friend.
Yes.
Oh, you set the bar for everyone else. That is for sure. Thank you, guys. Really had a
Thanks for
great time
coming
being
on,
here.
buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we will definitely be in touch. I hope all your shows go off without a hitch.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll let you know.
Okay. And you're recording tomorrow, man. Go knock them dead.
Whew, yeah, that's going to be a challenge. I can't wait.
Right.
You're going to sing up high.
I can't wait to hear it, man.
Break a leg, buddy.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers. Take it easy. All right, guys. So you just heard from Mr. Andy Clifton.
Yeah, you did.
Always a good conversation. Yeah, love talking with that guy. He gave us a video to show you guys. We're going to put it up now. It's from one of his groups that he has, one of his duos called the Chill Duo. The song is called Spring Tea Storm, written by Andy, and it's performed by, of course, Andy. And he has, give me 1 second, let me find his name, David Jeffrey on mandolin. So yeah, check it out. It's good stuff. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Enjoy.
She likes taking chances. She don't want to miss a thing. She's got all the answers. She's like a thunderstorm in the spring. I'm taking my second chances, making up for a few things, finding my own answers. Let's see what this thunderstorm brings. Yeah, yeah. It's dark and menacing, getting close and threatening. Yeah, full of wonder, just the same. Yeah. She's got all the information. She's got tricks up her sleeves. She won't stand for my frustration. She's a thunderstorm in the spring. Yeah. Counting seconds to close the distance between me and her, 'cause I don't want to miss a thing. She's got all my answers, 'cause she's my thunderstorm, yeah, in the spring. Yeah, yeah. She's dark and menacing, getting close and threatening, yeah, and full of wonder, just the same, yeah. sleeves. She won't stand for your frustration, 'cause she's a thunderstorm in the spring. Yeah, 'cause she's my thunderstorm, yeah, in the spring. Yeah, yeah. She likes taking chances. She don't wanna miss a thing. She's got all the answers. She's like a thunderstorm in the spring. Taking my second chances, making up for a few things, finding my own answers. Let's see what this thunderstorm brings. Yeah, hey. Dark and menacing, getting close and threatening, yeah. Full of wonder, just the same, yeah. Got all the information. She's got tricks up her sleeves. She won't stand for my frustration. She's a thunderstorm in the spring. Yeah. Counting seconds to close the distance between me and her, 'cause I don't wanna miss a thing. She's got all my answers, 'cause she's my thunderstorm, yeah, in the spring. Yeah, yeah. Dark and menacing, getting close and threatening, yeah, and full of wonder, just the same, yeah. Dark and menacing. One frustration. She's a thunderstorm in the spring. Yeah, 'cause she's my thunderstorm, yeah, in the spring. Yeah, yeah.
I gotta tell you, I got a lot of kudos for you guys because you're taking a chance here to try something new and to reach out to people and share information and talk about how to do live music. And
Right.
this is a really cool idea. And as I've been thinking about this and how grateful I am to be a part of it. So you guys are doing something special here.
Thank
I
you.
hope that you keep doing it.
We just don't want people to forget that, you know, musicians and production people and roadies and we exist. You know what I mean?
Fuck yeah, we do. And and when it comes to our ant hives, we're important.
Yeah.
Right. And again, we're all mainly dependent. Like if you need to play your gigs that you play to be sustainable, and suddenly you're dependent on whether this company can stay open or whether their restrictions are there, whether they don't have the money in their bank to pay you or whatever it is. I mean, it all trickles down, and it
Trickle down is real, man.
It
Trickle
is.
down economics, man. We're living it
Economics.
now.
you think about it, it's like luckily you're not paying a band or something that's with you, whether that you'd have to say, hey guys, I'm sorry, I mean, there's nothing we can fucking do. I mean, but we just want people to know, hey, we're still here. We are still the people that a lot of you count on to have sanity, that you get away from your 9 to 5, and we're the ones providing the entertainment that makes you feel happy, that puts a smile on your face while you go.
Yeah.
You might go and hate your life every day, but you look forward to what's going to happen that weekend or that night or at dinner or whatever the case is, man. All of us are still here, and we're all struggling, and we just want to do our little part in getting it out there to let everybody know, hey, we're all still here. We're
It's
struggling.
beautiful, man. And
We're struggling, but we're keeping the faith,